Why would conservatives think fact-checking is biased against them? I mean, what are you sharing if you keep getting fact-checked for false information? Think about it. What were conservatives sharing on Meta that was getting flagged so much? Are they spreading false information? And why were they so eager? And why are Republicans in general so eager to end the idea of fact-checking? What are they trying to share? What is the motivation for not wanting it to be fact-checked?
Joining me live for more on this is investor and entrepreneur Steve Baxter. Steve, thanks for your time on this. Mark Zuckerberg came out in the midst of the pandemic and the 2020 election and insisted that Meta was not censoring information. So why come out now and say the platform will stop censoring if he claimed it never was in the first place?
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on. It's a little hard to believe the sort of repentant sinner only after he's caught with his hand in the cookie jar, right? So, look, good on him. Free speech, is an antidote to a lot of things. Obviously, Mark Zuckerberg has actually sort of smelled the winds of political change. He's probably also seen the higher levels of success that platforms such as X are having with respect to their free speech stance. But for an American company to bow to the pressure from the US government with such a strong First Amendment, basic right at the heart of their polity, good on Mark for finding some bravery eventually.
I mean, as you mentioned, it's most likely politically motivated here so that he's not offside when Trump comes into office. But what does that sort of represent, I guess, for someone to bow down and change, I guess, your stance and view on this?
Well, I don't think he's got a great moral compass, to be honest. I mean, he was very happy censoring opinions and political discourse. I've got nothing good to say about it other than, good on him now. Maybe a full and frank admission of what occurred in the past would be helpful. And there's been some of that with respect to the comments around the current US administration and their demands to censor. But I'd have a lot more positive things to say about Mark Zuckerberg and Meta if they'd actually stood up for it and said no.
Yeah, indeed. I think you're echoing the sentiment of a lot of people after this was announced this morning. I mean, it seems to be a bit of a copy and paste, as you mentioned, of Elon Musk and, of course, X's approach here. Talk us through how this will actually work, how community notes work.
Well, community notes is a fantastic feedback mechanism to allow people to, I suppose, crowdsource something that's a little more valid than a politically biased, otherwise, fact check, excuse me, in inverted commas, if you're listening to this without video. So a lot more honest way. You don't have the bias of people who are basically paid for a certain political opinion to, I suppose, to smear or to smear over someone else's conversation. So fact check, I think, is now, fact check. Community notes method is now a proven better way in order to actually help, I suppose, put some guardrails and put some voluntary community guardrails around what otherwise could be potentially misleading and otherwise sort of I suppose, misleading conversations. I don't like the term misleading, but everyone's got an opinion and everyone's allowed to voice it. And you're also allowed to not listen to the person voicing that opinion. And let's get back to that sort of level of maturity in our discourse.
Yeah, I mean, in the same breath here, Mark Zuckerberg said that this could lead to more harmful content. Why is he doing it then? It's sort of it's a bit hypocritical.
Look, I think that everything's on a gradient of harms. So harmful content, yeah, maybe potentially, but what's the downside of actually censoring all speech in the way they did? So if you look at the greater damage that was done, was their approach. Okay, and not doing it will allow some harmful content in, but not doing it will also allow a lot more better content in. So I think that increasing the volume of free speech is better. When you suppress speech you don't like, then that speech still occurs. It just occurs in places you can't see. So let's get it out in the open. Let's get lots of feedback, community notes, etc. So look, that overall, I praise them for now finally coming around and embracing, I suppose, the US First Amendment and freedom of speech.